Hello and welcome. This is the Commander speaking, and in this video I'd like to announce the formation of what I'm dubbing Commander Phelexander's Companions, which are named after the companions or companion cavalry, the personal bodyguard and close friends and generals of Alexander the Great in history. Now that's not to say that I'm modeling myself on Alexander, but I pose an idea somewhat in the name of Phelexander, which is that if Alexander had slept with the Bible under his pillow instead of the Iliad, I think the Alexander we would have known would have been as different from the Alexander we got than Saul was from Paul in the Bible itself. But moving on from that, I'd like to go over the results of the first first Milsim versus Milsim event I actually participated in, and give a summary of what happened. Basically, about 20 guys from Rome turned up on the Russian side, and about 7 or 8 guys from the other Milsim groups turned up on the US side, and 2 or 3 of us at the start of the round. And it was supposed to be vanilla conflict, but for whatever reason, the Warpigs admins couldn't make the server reset change work, and so it was stuck at headquarters conflict, which is much more difficult for everyone involved, because when I talked to everyone at the start of the round, almost no one knew how to play headquarters conflict. And so I ended up taking charge of those 10 guys, but by the end of the round, the game had filled out and we were crushed, as usual that happens to US on HQC, and with most people not knowing how to play HQC. It was the typical disaster I expected from an HQC game. But at the end of that round, I said, okay, well, for those of us still interested in playing, let's head over to NA4, because that only had 25 players on it, so it had plenty of room for all of us who did want to move over. And I thought, well, that'll help seed the server too. And what I discovered was many of you were the attendees of the first event and this unofficial rematch. By the time I got done with the after-action report with the other leaders involved with the organizing of the previous event, the NA4 server had gone from 25 to 125 people. And over the next 2 hours, most of you were there, so you would know, we had a pretty good match with some pretty good organization and teamwork, considering how ad hoc, meaning off the cuff, it was. And so I want to say, first of all, how very proud of you, or proud of all of you I am. Even if I didn't see what you were doing, I'm proud that you were even there. I'm pleased, tickled to death that you were there. I'm very pleasantly surprised. And I'm also very appreciative of, taking time out of wherever else or whatever else you would have been doing to show up for that event. But I've renamed my Discord to Commander Phelexander's Companions. That's where you can assemble. The link is fresh and in my YouTube bio and my TikTok bio. You can find it there. And that will be where I can more consistently get feedback on how many people will be attending, because one of the problems we had in the pre and post planning phase of the previous event, the headquarters conflict event, was we severely, or I at least, severely underestimated how many people would turn up from my social media to the event. I thought it was random people joining because the server got seeded over the course of the round. And after talking to many of you on NA4 afterwards, I realized, oh no, a lot of those people that turned up were my followers, or companions as I now dub thee. But let me gather my thoughts and see what else I've got to say before I move on. Oh, so the main reason I want to get the Discord going is because I've been using my TikTok story, and I can see how many people have viewed it and how many people liked it. Or if I make a post, as I did this past time, I can see how many people viewed it and how many liked it. But that didn't give me a more concrete number of how many of the people on my YouTube short that liked it and liked my TikTok were actually going to attend, or that they just were supportive of this happening. Oh good, I'm glad that he's doing this. Let me support it and boost it in the algorithm by liking it and all that. Some people commented, so I could tell, okay, yeah, some people are coming, 2 or 3 at least. But I did not expect nearly the volume we got. And in order for us to participate in these more organized events like that, we've got to have a better head count for what to expect, and be more prompt on when we show up. In the future, I won't be posting and saying this is when the event starts. What we'll probably do is either assemble on my server, the Commander Phelexander server, and use that as kind of our chat lobby, or we'll assemble there, an hour, 2 hour, 30 minutes beforehand, do a little practice, talk about what plan we're going to try and execute on the whatever event we're going to participate in, and then see how it works. Just give us more time to prepare, because basically I think a lot of us joined into a round where we were already way behind and on the losing side. From talking to the guys in the AAR, the Milsim guys on the Russian side, they held back some, but about 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the game, I'd say, which is about the time most of you started joining, they just put the pedal to the metal. MI8s, BTRs, all of it, just all over us before the round really even got going. And they were doing recon and stuff too. They had sent a helicopter out to find where we were, and then they just diverted all their forces to us so that they could ghost cap the rest of the island while we got bottled up down at between Regina and military base Levy. Anyway, the tactics of it and the strategy is as important as our roster and our turnout. But using the Discord will give me, y'all can. I've set the channel permission so that you can read my messages. So I'll post when the event is, all the relevant information, and then your reaction to it will give me concrete numbers of, yes or no, are you coming, this kind of thing. Right now, that's all the channel is going to be limited to. I'm not ready to start forming a Discord or a gaming community or anything like that, because it's just me, just the commander. I don't know how much time I'll have to do between how many duties. For example, if we're doing an event hosted on my server, I'll also be the game master in charge of banning people and whatever, all the getting people unstuck out of something, refilling supplies for someone troll crashes helicopters. I don't know how much between those duties I'll be divided and actually commanding, which looks like what's going to happen is that we're going to have all the Milsim guys on one side, and we'll all be on the we'll just be underneath me as the Commander Phelexander companions, and whatever leadership structure we're able to trickle down from there as we get to know each other better and figure out what everyone's capable of and willing to do and all those things. Basically as we get to know each other is the real answer, and as we each learn how we can each best participate in the kinds of fluid systems I'm looking to create. And I think that's the contrast I want to draw with the way I foresee the companions functioning, is not as a traditional Milsim unit, but as a collection of players who understand so more like the difference between the way the United States Army worked and the entire Allied forces, but in particular the U.S. Army in World War II, versus more traditional armies with a hierarchy and structure and orders. It's famous that when an American officer was killed or incapacitated in World War II, the rest of the squad still functioned without that leadership. And the reason for that is because the kinds of Americans who were drawn into and drafted in World War II were not professional soldiers before they were trained, but they were professionals, meaning they were thinking, acting, independent, grown men, even if they were 19-year-olds or 18-year-olds, because at that time you took on so much more responsibility at that time. They were men who grew up in a democratic, American, individualist, independent culture that didn't need someone to tell them to do what they knew needed to be done. They were able to take that initiative on their own. And that's the kind of fluid system that we want to create. So just like if you might have seen my recent video about how playing on the Russian side, I was able to just automatically integrate myself into that system because I knew that the Russian players were going to do the simple, sensible thing. When we start developing our more advanced tactics and procedures, we should be able to do that same kind of fluid. We want to be like water, not like the more structured things the Milsim guys seem to be doing. Even though that's effective, we want to go about integrating ourselves into actually doing that as fluidly as possible. And the reason for that is, from what I've seen from the planning stages of these events, is that attendance and personnel in crucial roles can be crippling. So for example, if we're only allowing certain guys to fly or certain guys to drive certain vehicles, like happened on the War Pigs PvE event I was in previous to both of these events, then suddenly you lose capabilities. But if you just have a system where whoever turns up that night, however many people turn up, we have a system that functions with whatever our attendance is. If we've got 3 guys, if we got 30 guys, if we got 100 guys, 90 guys, we'll say, it's a nice triple number, we can scale the same system to the same level of competency because every person can plug themselves into whatever role needs to be done. And we don't have to have, Sergeant so-and-so there telling Private so-and-so, get out of the car and shoot. We already know to do that, right? We can look and see, oh, there's no driver in the Humvee. I'll drive. Or, someone will drive. We don't have to have dedicated rules like a transportation element. For example, nobody wants to fucking do nothing but drive supplies and drive soldiers all around. You want to shoot someone some of the time. And that's why in my convoy system we have a driver rotation, where on a server like mine where there's no radio backpacks, so in the backpack radio system, when we drive our vehicles to a point, get out and park and deploy the radios, we don't have to send the vehicles back to pick up casualties because we're going to respawn on the radios, not respawn at the base. But on a server like mine where radio backpacks are turned off, to make it more realistic and actually strategic, those vehicle drivers, those drivers would just be driving the people who are passengers to the point. Then you drop off the passengers and drive back to the base where casualties would be respawning. But when you get to the base, you swap to the passenger seat. So whoever dies first, basically they get driving duty. It's also kind of a way to encourage you to don't get shot because no one wants to get shot because you're going to have to take a long, boring ride back. But, it encourages us to be conservative with our vehicles, but also we share the duties that no one really wants to do between us. Same thing with transport in the supply section, right? Like if we're bringing in my convoy system, rather than having 1 or 2 guys making 10 trips back and forth from the supply ports or the supply depot, we just have 5 guys with 5 trucks that all go to, we all go as a convoy together. So you have the scout element in the Jeeps, the assault element in the Humvees, and the transport element with 5 supply trucks, or whatever number scales, right? We'll work out the numbers of that as it scales, but that way we do one big movement as a team with all of those elements of recon, assault, and supply, so that when those guys that are in the truck transport and supply transport element get to the base, they can get out and fight too. And when the fight's over and we capture the base, they're either there at the base and they've survived, or they're riding back with the same Humvees that are transporting people in that driver rotation. And then when it's time to dump the supplies, you just go to your truck, drive it onto the base, dump the supplies, and we rinse and repeat that process. So we're looking to be more of a system, a process, and a general competency focused kind of group of companions, rather than a structured hierarchy and command system. And ultimately, ideally, we'd want everyone to even be capable of doing the commander role. Now, obviously, everyone's not going to want to do that, and you don't need everyone. That's the role that actually we have the least demand for, because you only need one fucking guy to do that. Frankly, the commander role, as far as it is in the HQC commander game mode, is just button mashing on different points on the base, And frankly, we wouldn't need someone in the commander role in HQC. We can just let the AI do it as long as we're following our process properly. And then we can more fluidly react to whatever the other team's doing. So for example, if they're setting up ambushes on our one route we're using, rather than trying to fight through that ambush, the next time we might take another route and see, if our recon element makes it through, then we know, oh, well, this is where we're going this time. We'll force them to reposition rather than us trying to fight through. That it gives us a flexibility there that, having to ask the commander back at the command tent what to do is not ideal, because I don't know what's going on with you guys in the convoy if I'm in the command tent. You guys are the ones who knows what's going on. And what my goal is to pass on to you with these videos and the learning that we do is that you don't have to ask me what to do. You already know, because I've told you in the past, and you go, you don't even have to think to yourself, what would Felix do? You just already know, this is what I'm going to do, because this is what needs to be done. And with all that being said, even though I've more or less defected to Russia on many of these public servers, it's because I'm looking for that more American experience. And that's why I've kept my American flag on my profile, is because what we're trying to achieve, and what I think we have already to a very small degree achieved, is a very American way of Arma. I've played with Europeans and Germans and people. I've played on Mexican servers, or Latin American servers, I guess they are more generally. And I've played on Middle Eastern servers. I've got some experience of how people play squad or Arma, and there's, I wouldn't say ethnic differences, but every country has its culture and their own temperaments and their own ways of thinking and doing things. And the American way has been exceptional in history, and not undeservedly. And that's what we're trying to achieve in Arma, and that's why it's, I haven't spoken about this before, but it's a semi-patriotic thing, and it's part of why I've been so disappointed in the American team, is because is this the best America has to offer in Arma? Well, no. Turns out the real Americans, ironically, are on the communist side in this Cold War game, but let me see if I have anything else to say. No, I think that pretty much wraps it up. From here on out, you'll see the end of the HQC round that was such a disaster, and we'll pick up with the me starting to play on the NA4 round we hopped into, and it'll be a lot more of the traditional let me show and tell what's going on. But I also just want to go ahead and compliment, if you don't want to finish the video, everyone who came, everyone who's watching now to see. A lot of the things that happen in NA4, just like I was talking about on the Soviet side in my defection video, a lot of things we were able to do on the US side on this round, never been able to accomplish those. I've had some people try, and almost none succeed. And the first thing I want to highlight is this airborne thing we do. Even though we had a hard landing and the rotors snapped, we all survived and were able to walk away from the crash. And the main thing I want to say is we were able to hold our formation, keep our mouths shut, and our weapons tight. You should all be proud of that, because that puts you in the less than the top 1 percentile. It puts you in the 0.05 percentile of US and NATO Arma Reforger players. That's something that puts you in 1 out of 1,000 people, because I've done the math on some of these views I've been getting on some of these videos, and done the math on, well, if there's let's say there's 3 million Arma Reforger players out there. Well, that means there's only about 3,000 people that can keep their fucking mouth shut. Or 30,000. I forget the exact math right now. But you guys are already among the elite. We just haven't developed that talent, for some of us that are still new, or integrated the talent we have into a system that makes us greater than the sum of our parts. So I'll go ahead and start breaking down the video here, and I kind of want to fast forward it so I can keep it, because I got 2 hours more footage I got to compress down here, and I'm trying to wrap up my editing today so I can get in and get more footage, because it's Saturday, Sunday, and now that I've got so many people involved, I'm like, oh man, I've really got to double down even further on what I've been working on. So look forward to seeing you all, and enjoy the rest of the video. No, just keep going southwest. Just keep going southwest. We're going to go out over the water.
How long is acceptable to wait to team kill an AFK person?
And then we're going to follow the... Oh! We all survived. All right.
We're good.
It's okay. We're not on fire.
They're down. Hey, actually, this is kind of repairable. This is fixable, though.
Yeah, we just got to get a fucking repair truck up a fucking mountain.
It's okay. It's never been...
It's all good. None of us are severely injured. This is good.
One of the guys here has a medical bag. I'm gonna check you out.
All right. Everybody, assemble over here near the helo. I want to see who's got radio backpacks, who's injured. We're
I
gonna.
love you, Jay Trent. I love you, Jay
Okay,
Trent. Come on, you're so
sorry
beautiful.
guys,
You're
I
such a good
am
pilot.
brand
I
new
love
and
you.
I'm trying to figure all this out.
So.
Keep your eyes open because they could be in the hills.
Nah, they're not gonna be up here. I've checked where we are on the map. We're okay. The worst that can happen is a MIA is gonna strafe us. So let's just run due south. Follow me. We'll run a couple
Alright.
100 meters out that way into the woods, and then I'll give a briefing on our attack for military base levy, since that's where we're closest.
That works.
Spread out a little bit, don't be so bunched up.
Yeah, as soon as we get into these trees on the hill there, just pick a tree and hide in it. But anyway, we're pretty far away, but by the time our mission briefing's done, they'll have forgotten that we're up here. So we're just going to run on foot due north to military base levy and fucking get in there and cap it as long as we got signal. And as soon as we cap that, well, I want to go over the how to do that, though. I don't know how experienced all of you are, and I don't know how many of you have seen enough of my videos, but the number one thing to do is to keep your fucking mouth shut and your weapons tight. That means don't shoot the first Russian you see. Even if he sees you, unless he's going to kill you and you've got to kill him, don't shoot him. We're trying to steal home plate like this is baseball, and we're going to charge the catcher if we have to, but if they don't know we're running, we're not going to start running, I'm almost there! We want the fans to even be holding their breath, not cheering. So we're trying to run due north from here, mouth shut, weapons tight, until we get to the command tent and that that capture bar starts. Because then when we have a gunfight and we kill any Russians and they kill any of us, they can't respawn and we can't respawn, except for on our radio backpacks. So if they can't respawn and we can because we've got radio backpacks, we're going to win that fucking fight with this many guys. Because there's not more than 10 guys at military base levy right now, if we're unlucky. If we're lucky, there's only 3 or 4. And if we're really lucky, there's 2. And we can take those guys and take that fucking base. Because that's one of the bases where we have cover from the MI8s that come to strafe us. So as soon as the cap starts and we kill all the Russians, hide in the buildings, keep the cap going. We'll become a thorn in their side. Even if we don't capture it, they're going to have to take 20 guys off of somewhere else to come get us. Now, let me check and see. If you have a radio backpack, come stand out here with me so I know how many we have.
I don't think we have any.
All right.
I don't think we have any. I don't think any of us were.
But it's okay, because when we wipe this time, we'll just execute this same plan again, except we're going to have a soft landing. And we're all going to get out.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. That was pretty soft crash landing. I mean, we all walked away from it, not even limping.
Yeah, we all walked away from it. That was a good trip.
Whoa.
We've also got the cover of darkness now, so
Wait,
next
before
time when
get
we do
started,
this-
What was your channel name?
Commander Phelexander, spelled with a PH, just like my in-game name. I've also got a Discord with the same
Lights
name.
off.
Yeah, no,
I
yeah.
was switching to red light. My bad.
Yeah, we'll do this same thing again, but this time we'll all have radio backpacks and we'll all be on our own individual squads, or, you know, as few as possible. Because it sucks to have 6 guys share the 3 respawns. That doesn't really do as much as 10 guys each having 3 respawns. Suddenly we're 30 guys attacking military base levy against those 10 guys. So it's a real force multiplier. It's broken. And on my server it's not allowed, but... Oh, by the way, I do have my own headquarters conflict server. I don't know if y'all saw that on my channel too, but...
I did.
Alright, anybody got any more questions?
No, let's go kick ass.
Alright, we do have one more thing. Does anyone have a silencer?
No. Yeah, no. I wasn't really prepared for what I'm doing right now.
Alright, well typically I like to run in a V formation so that there's a point man with a silencer, so if we do have to shoot someone, he's the one who does it. And
Do you have a silencer?
I do not. I'm just running base. I've got default kit with the fucking backpack is all I grabbed. But point man,
There's a lot of us
hang on,
here.
let me finish. Point man forms the point of the V, and then the rest of us, even at night, because we can see each other's name tags, we don't need our flashlights. The point man can lead as long as we keep him in our periphery. So if you're to his right, you should be able to see his name tag on your left and keep following that. If you're on his left, then you should see his name tag on your right. And if it's not the point man, then whoever else is in front of you following the point man. So we fly like geese in a V formation. That way, when we take contact front, and we see those muzzle flashes, they might get one of us, but they're not going to get all of us, because all of us will be able to see that one guy and shoot him down before he kills us. Because most of the time what will happen is, in the dark, they'll shoot one of us, knock us down, but they won't be able to finish us. The rest of us will shoot him, then we move forward in the V, finish him off, keep going. Because if 10 of us are fighting a guy one at a time, like 10 of us are gonna can have 10 gunfights against one guy at a time and win. Did that make sense as well to everybody?
Yeah.
Because that's the key formation we need to get to the point without getting disrupted. But getting onto the point and fighting, that's just up to your own discretion. We'll just keep that V formation or single file once we get in there, just making a beeline for the damn command tent. Alright.
Cool.
Since
Alright, does anyone have a silencer or no? Did we figure that out yet?
alright, who wants to be famous then? Because I would rather be in the back so I can see you guys since I'm recording. And I don't want to be the first one shot since I'm recording.
You also have the radio backpack, so you're kind of important.
Oh, that's good. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yo, what are you recording on? Like.
Just GeForce, the NVIDIA app.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, and almost none of this is going to be useful because it's too fucking dark. But when daytime comes and we're doing this and we've had enough practice getting it right, then it'll be useful. But all right, I'll go ahead and pick.
Oh, it's raining. That's sound cover.
Yep. I'll just pick Octavian since he's in my squad. He'll be point man because he can use my radio to respawn if they kill him. And I'll take up the rear because I can keep the command and control going and kind of keep an eye on the formation too. All right, ready to go.
All right,
Octavian, lead the formation. Everybody else, break to his left and right.
All right, which way are we going?
Due south. Excuse me, due north.
Oh, you guys are really good at this.
Brings a tear to my eye.
You need to turn on your flashlight. Set it to red light so it isn't as bright.
Okay, we need to course correct up the hill to the right, bearing northeast. Towards that last explosion.
Break up positioning, they're using RPGs.
Damn, both of those went short. I think those are AI. So I left this on real dark to see how important those name tags are, and just how little you can really see. You know, most of the time in these videos, it gets edited so that you have a higher contrast, and you see the way people who cheat see when they use their game filters to see at night. But from here on, we captured the base with a relatively uneventful gunfight. I got killed a couple times, thank goodness I had a radio. And we move on to the next stage of these operations, which is our the most simple form of the convoy system I mentioned earlier, which is just Jeep spam. And the reason it's good is because it's the most efficient. You know, the average person's kit costs 200, a Jeep costs 110. So for 300 supply a pop, you can have people rolling out en masse. And I'll probably just go ahead and put this on fast forward because I don't have much time left for this video. We're already at 30 minutes and I've only got 10 minutes left. But I'll talk over, as we fast forward, why this works so well. Plus the 50 supply in the radio backpack, that's 350 supply per person to run the vehicles in this convoy. Now, it could be more efficient when you carry more passengers in the Humvees like we do in the fleshed out system, but because it was so off the cuff, and what I'm trying to make sure is that the maximum number of people survive when we go to the point, and that we get to the point at the maximum speed possible, because Humvees and LAVs are each, I'd say an LAV is about half as slow as a Humvee, and a Humvee is about half as slow as a Jeep, just off the top of my head. And most of that is because of how heavy they are going uphill. And Everon's a very I guess you'd say topographical, very hilly island. So we were going for speed and efficiency and just getting guys to the point, because we're not expecting any kind of organized resistance, or I wasn't at least, and we didn't have time to make anything more organized anyway. So from here on, I'll just kind of fast forward through. Let me think a little longer, make sure I'm not forgetting anything here. Oh, we're also using Jeeps because it's such a dark night and it's extremely difficult to do helo landings at night. That was the last thing I was going to say. Because the supply cost per person is so low and it's so simple, I kept an eye on it. Every time I came back to military base Levy here and went to spawn a Jeep, even with these 12 or 15, 20 guys, each spawning their own Jeep and grabbing their own radio, ever so often when we took casualties and had to restart over or whatever, every time I came back, we were still at the same 6,000 supplies. And that's key. What it means is the 1,500 supply that a base will passively generate up to, we barely used all that up without it refilling before we came back, which is massive. That means we are a net zero on our supply usage on these attacks, which we cannot say for the enemy team, most likely. When we're attacking from a base like military base Levy that generates 15 supply every 5 seconds, I think it is, versus Camarak, which is one of the bases we attack, which generates maximum of 5 supply every 5 seconds. If we're net even and just trading with them on the point, that means that we're winning out in that attritional difference at a rate of 3 to 1. And that's just based off of what passively generates. Now in this case, when we captured it, I learned that Camarak had 6,000 supply on it, which turns out to be what allows them to fight us off later once they kind of figure out what we were doing. But that's the kind of bean counting, nerd math reasoning I use behind a lot of these strats that we employ. And why I developed this convoy system is to be the most efficient and effective system I've come up with yet, and obviously will improve much more further, because as you'll see or as you'll remember, many of you, but as you'll see, I don't know if you'll be able to pick up on it. I don't know what speed I'll have to play this on, but at one point we start getting bombed by Mi-8s, and without our own LAVs to cover the air from that, or our own gunships to at least kind of fight them off from us, or without all of us carrying the small arms we need, or without the Humvees. The one thing we could have had that would have helped would have been Humvees, but the problem with the Humvees is that typically they're left at the parking area with the radios. And if you bring them onto the point, the Humvees are just going to get targeted along with everyone else. So you need something that can be effective against air from far enough away that the air itself can't target it, right? One LAV can shoot down dozens of MI8s, but not if they know its location. Because as soon as you shoot one down, if they know where you are and they come back from an unexpected angle and blow you up, now we have no air cover. And, you know, dogfighting is incredibly inefficient. I think, in my opinion, unless you have exceptional pilots, the most you can hope for is to just get them to dogfight you. Most of the time what I see happening is Hueys chasing MI8s that have more speed and more altitude, and they just continue bombing the point while the Hueys trying to dogfight are completely ineffective. And that's one thing we didn't have. But one way to counter that is, you know, if we are bringing guys, you know, if you're running 249 or M60 or, you know, one of the more powerful, or the LMG systems, bringing the tracer rounds, that's one thing that helps a lot. You know, I think you might see some of me, I pick up someone's 40 and I'm able to get rounds on target. But that's exceptionally difficult also because you have to learn how much to lead the aircraft at what range, and that just comes with practice. I don't even know how to begin to tell you how to learn that. I just have 3,000 hours in the game as of this week, and I've learned how to target those damn things at different ranges and approaches. But even then, most of the time, until you learn that, until you're a high-skilled, high-experienced player, you're going to be shooting behind the MI8 most of the time, or you're going to be shooting over or above him, depending on what range he is. Because it's such a big goddamn helicopter, it's very hard to judge the distance at which he is currently and how quickly he's closing or leaving the range you're trying to engage him at. But the LAV eliminates all that. Especially now that it's got the periscope, you just point and blast him. You can see whether or not your round's hitting him. You don't have to lead him that much. And if he's far enough away you can't hit him, he's far enough away he can't hit us either. But for the rest of this match, I don't know if any of you noticed this, but I got back to Military Base Levy, which is where we were staging our ops out of, and it was down to 20 supply, 200 supply, because somebody started spawning helicopters there. And that ate up that 6,000 and the 1,500 that passively regenerates. Like, they ate it up faster than it could regenerate. And so that eliminated our ability to operate out of that military base and put pressure on the surrounding bases. And so we had to fall back. And there was other things going on in other parts of the island. But, you know, we did exceptionally well for what we were doing, but we weren't the dominant force in the server, right? We weren't able to prevent our teammates from sabotaging us with their stupidity. Or at least that's what I suspect happened. I didn't see people with the helicopters doing that, but, you know, I put two and two together. There's no supply and there's a helicopter here now. And I know that we were also doing helicopters at that point. I gave clearance for it, but the point is we want to distribute the cost of those helicopters across as many backline bases as possible so that they can passively regenerate what we just used there. But the biggest thing I noticed once it got daytime and I could see what was happening in these gunfights, because I couldn't see shit. You know, I was in such a rush and trying to get things done so fast. I saved a kit without my gun loaded. I missed 2 kills here on this Andres Beacon point with these guys getting in that blue van because I didn't even have my weapon loaded. But I would also like to compliment all of you. Most of you are better skilled players than I am. I'm not very good at this game in a lot of the aspects. I'm not that good of a shot. I'm definitely not a good pilot. Maybe if I practiced more. Best thing I'm at probably is driving, because that's what I've done the most, trying to make the U.S. team have supplies enough to fight even. But not everybody's got to be the best at everything, right? And I don't even want to be the best at everything, but it is important that, you know, enough of us try enough different things, we might find what we both like, and if we like it, we might devote the time to being better at it and then become one of the best at it. And that might be the way we kind of divide roles, is just by preference. Because in the fluid system I'm talking about, the primary objective is fun. And the winning, the actual victory, is secondary to that. If we're playing to win in such a way that's fun, I think that's what's key. And so in these next few weeks or months, you know, if we're getting stomped every round by Rome and the Russians, I'm willing to play on the U.S. team on a team that's trying to win and is getting better and is having fun while we lose. Because if we're having fun as we lose, I count that the primary victory, because that's what we paid our $40 for, the fun. Not some fucking try-hard shit like I guess I get accused of sometimes on these other servers and in these videos you've seen of mine. And that's why I want to close this by saying thank you all again. Thank you for helping me with the things I can't do. And thank you for accepting the help that I'm trying to give y'all with what I've been doing with this whole Commander Phelexander thing. Because to me, it's as much about what I have to offer and like giving that gift to people so that we can unlock the potential of Arma, as much as it is just, I don't know, I don't even know what else it is about for me. But anyway, this has been the Commander speaking. Thank you, and over and out. We start learning a lot more of the basic tactics, and you know, we can divide into multiple groups that are attacking multiple bases, and there's so much that's possible now that we haven't even begun to tap the depths of what Arma is capable of.
I watched your video that was like an hour long, basically.
Yeah, funnily enough, those are the most popular ones on TikTok. You wouldn't think it, would you?
Yeah. Short attention span, but I still watched it.
Well, and my suspicion, is that because TikTok has long format, is capable of that, I think I got a boost in the algorithm because nobody posts long form stuff, especially not Arma stuff on TikTok. That's all on YouTube. So I think I got a boost from it just because I posted long videos and nobody else does. And that's kind of what got me that first visibility, but it could also just be that everybody's fucking sick of NATO sucking.
Yeah, I can agree. I originally started playing this game on NATO, and I experienced it like in the really early days when it was actually pretty fun to play, and now it just blows dick and ass. So.
Yeah, it does. Alright, well that's Entree Dough capped. Thanks for coming out, guys. I can't wait to see you guys again. We're going to have a lot of fun this year, and next, when Arma 4 comes out.
Oh,
See
yeah,
you soon.
for sure.
And this has been the
bro.
Commander. Over and out.